If you live in the US, you've almost certainly driven on a highway in the Interstate Highway System before. After all, who doesn't love its high speed limits, connectivity with other cities and states, and near constant bumper-to-bumper traffic? It's also no secret that these highways, known as interstates, are numbered based on direction and location. North-south interstates are odd-numbered, and east-west interstates are even-numbered, with interstates further north and east having higher numbers, and interstates ending in 0 or 5 being major cross-country highways. If you look at a highway map of the US, though, you'll notice that there's an ever-so-slight oddity. The east-west interstate numbers jump from 40 to 70, skipping 50 and 60 entirely. This raises a question, why? Why is there no I-50 or I-60? Now, before we get into the answers to this question, I would appreciate you to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell to stay tuned for future content. Okay, so in order to answer the question of why we don't have Interstate 50, we need to turn back the clock over 100 years. In the early 20th century, cars were becoming mainstream, replacing the old horse and carriage method of transportation. With this new technology, cross-country travel could be much more feasible than it had been. Only problem is, America's system of roads back then wasn't exactly the best, mainly consisting of dirt roads, railroad tracks, horse trails, and more stuff that would be absolutely horrible to drive cross-country on in a modern car. As a result, plans were made to construct what is now known as the US highway system. When it came to numbering, the US highways largely followed the same principle as the modern interstate highways, but with one exception. The numbers increased from east to west and north to south instead of the other way around. As a result, US Highway 1 was on the east coast and US Highway 101 was on the west coast. This system worked well enough for a while. It got people where they needed to be and in a relatively comfortable manner as well. But then, in the wake of World War II, everything changed. Now, one of the problems with the US highway system is that they were highly variable. They could be anywhere from a small, two-lane road to a major, multi-lane highway. This made transporting people and cargo a huge hassle, since they had to adjust to different highway sizes in different places. This became especially problematic in periods such as World War II, where quick transportation was essentially necessary in order to keep the nation afloat. As a result, a new system was needed to reasonably connect the various cities and towns to increase efficiency. This system is what we now know as the Interstate Highway System. Now, here's where I-50, or the lack thereof, comes into play. When the new interstate system was being numbered, they decided to put lower numbers further south and west instead of north and east in order to avoid confusion with the existing US highways. However, I-50 and I-60 will end up being extremely close to the existing US 50 and US 60, creating potential confusion. As a result, it was ultimately decided to omit those interstates completely, and have the numbers jump from 40 to 70 instead. In fact, not only are I-50 and I-60 non-existent, but very few interstates end up in that area at all, with only 3 interstates having a number in the 5x range: I-55, I-57, and I-59, which, as you guessed from their odd numbering, are all north-south interstates. The reason why those interstates exist at all is because the US highways with the same numbers are either nowhere near the existing interstates or just don't exist. These factors are not in place with US 50 and US 60, so thus an I-50 will not exist any time in the foreseeable future. And that wraps up this video on why certain numbers are missing from the Interstates highway system. If you really want, I can make a screen-recorded video in the future where I hop into a map and outline potential routes that I-50 or I-60 would take if the existing US highways are ignored. Let me know if you want that video in the comments. And as always, I'd appreciate like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell to stay tuned for future content. Thanks, and have a great rest of your day.